Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we will be starting a new series for this month. It is going to be the return of my Road to Rank 1 series. This is for the month of May 2024. So, I haven't done this series in a couple of months, and I've gained a decent number of subscribers since then, so if you're not familiar with this series, essentially, I'm going to try to make it to number 1 on the ranked leaderboards by the end of the month, and I'm going to record several of my games as I try to get there, maybe on a variety of decks, maybe on the same deck if it's working well and I'm enjoying it, but while I'm playing that, I'm going to try to talk through my thoughts playing the deck, on the turns, on what my opponent's playing, just reacting to the experience of playing ladder regularly, and part of it is educational. Hopefully it will show you how to play those decks better, how to play against those decks better, and part of it is just to show off the experience of what it is like to try to hit rank 1 on ladder, or really any position on ladder, because, you know, it's not just playing meta decks against other top players. There's going to be a lot of non-meta decks against non-top players, so I'm going to try to catch a variety of different games to show you here in this video. And the deck I'm going to be starting off with, I was just playing some frontline to complete missions, but the deck I'm going to be starting off with is none other than Britain Soviet push OTK. And there's a lot of variety in this deck. There's a lot of different versions of the deck. I'm going to be playing this version, which is, I think, very similar, if not identical, to the version I played in World Championship, which is sort of the first version of Push ever, since it was the first tournament to be played on that patch. You know, before it even, basically right after it went out onto live server. I don't know if this is the exact list I brought to Worlds, but it is definitely, I think the exact list I brought to Worlds only had 2 Red Dawn. But it's very similar to the version I brought to Worlds, and the things that make this version of the deck slightly unique is I have a single copy of Arctic Convoy. That's because the deck only runs 7 units, 2 Honeys, 2 Crusaders, 2 Bryansk, and the Pioneer Regiment, so the Arctic Convoy is sort of like an extra card draw. Now, I only actually run 3 regular Convoys, so you might be wondering, why don't I just run regular Convoy? And that's because finding the units are really, really good. The Honeys give you a lot of extra healing, and that can get you into Commonwealth range, or heal you up to stay inside of range to go for the push combo. It can get you Crusaders, which are sort of the draw engine of the deck. It can get you Pioneer Regiment, and, you know, if you find Pioneer Regiment, you just win the game, basically. And it can find you Bryansk, which is just another really good delay card, and it's a card you can play out of your hand without drawing more cards, and that's often the issue with this deck, is having big hands, and that's why I don't want another Convoy, because Arctic Convoy is a good thing you can throw out if you have a Crusader on the board, because 1, it's not a British order, so it's not going to draw you cards. 2, it draws you units, which you are guaranteed to be able to play from hand without drawing more cards with the Crusader on board. And 3, if you've drawn through all your deck, you can just play it and it empties your hand. And 4, units past a certain point are the least valuable cards in your deck, so if you need to play a card to overdraw and you don't want to overdraw Push or Commonwealth, you just play Arctic Convoy, you overdraw like a Crusader or a Honey or a Bryansk, and then you have an extra slot in your hand, like you play out the other unit or whatever it is. So the Arctic Convoy, I think, works really, really great. I think it's very underrated. Now, of course, you could take out Arctic Convoy and just run a 3rd Bryansk, or a 4th Red Dawn or something like that, and that's what most people do, but this deck is a little original. And the other thing that is in this deck is 2 copies of Timely Supplies. I absolutely love Timely Supplies. This is one of my favorite cards in the game. I like this in Push OTK. It just lets you get through your deck a lot faster. And it can make a lot of turns that otherwise might not be available. And now you can't count on them, but, you know, sometimes you hit Timely Supplies into Monsoon Rot, and because of the 2 discount, you'll still be able to do Monsoon Rot Supply Shortage, whereas if you had done Convoy into Monsoon Rot, you wouldn't have been able to do it. So I really like this deck. It's a spicy version of it. You know, this is not the standard version, and maybe you'll find more success with the standard version with the Glamour Boys, etc. But this is the list that I'm going to be playing. Link to the deck code, it will be in the description if I remember to do that. But now, enough about the deck. Let's jump into the games. I am currently just got into top 34, 26-29. The goal eventually is to get over 3K. Not the goal for tonight, though. We're just going to play some games, you know, try to win them all, and go from there. So, with that, let's get into the games.
What a performance there by J King.
J King, full plot armor.
J King is pushing himself into the ranks of the legend.
J King is our world champion! J King 7! What? The back-to-back Cards world champion!
Alright, first game's against Soviets. Now the #1 Soviet deck on ladder is tokens. However, there's still a decent chance it could be something like Soviet control of some variety. If it's Soviet control of some variety, I think we win. If it's Soviet push, I think we lose. If it's tokens is actually a surprisingly hard matchup. Just because you only have so many board clears, and it's often, they'll put enough tokens on the board where you have to supply shortage, but if you don't, they'll buff them out of range for supply shortage on its own, and then you're far away from supply monsoon, and then by the time you play supply monsoon, they have a hand so big they can immediately make a new board. So we're gonna mulligan like it's tokens. I think we just keep Honey Bryansk. Maybe I don't need to keep Bryansk. The issue is I'm going first, and I don't have any card draw in hand, so I think I just keep Honey, play it on turn 2, it's good into anything. And this is what I want. A turn 3 Convoy is great. Okay, so we pick up the Commonwealth, and we have push. So if you're not familiar with the push combo, basically you play Red Dawns, and you play push. So if you can do Red Dawn, push, that is, the first push does 9 damage, because it's you take 3 damage and then deal damage equal to the amount of damage you have taken this turn. So you play 2 Red Dawns to deal 6 damage to yourself, push to deal 3 damage to yourself and 9 to the opponent, and then second push to deal an additional 3 damage, and then 12 to the opponent, which is 21, and you win the game. Now, you have to be able to take 12 damage. If you are on 12 health or less and go for the combo, you lose. Even if you destroy your opponent's HQ, it counts as a loss for you, since you were the one playing the cards. So, you have to be above 12 health, and then in case your opponent heals drastically out, there's a 3rd Red Dawn and 4 Sickles, so you can, I think, cap out at 35 damage with pushes. But you have Commonwealth as a secondary win condition, where sometimes you just win because you have above 30 health. This deck runs a ton of healing. And, sometimes you don't. So our opponent is tokens. They had a line of engagement. They have reserve, so they have 1 token in hand. I don't have a supply shortage. If I had a supply shortage, I would easily play it this turn. But we don't have one. I would like to start removing tokens, so we're going to start with the Sickle, because Sickle's almost certainly coming out this turn. Now the question is, do I want to enemy contact this? And I think the answer is yes. Generally speaking, if you have the option to draw a card and not overdraw, you should take that option in this deck. You are literally just trying to get to the bottom of your deck as fast as possible, because if you can find 2 push and 2 Red Dawn, you win the game, especially against a deck like tokens where they probably won't have healing. If I can get 2 Red Dawn, 2 push, I just win the game on 8 credits and above 12 health. Whereas if the game continues to go on, if he is able to find consistent card draw, he could just sort of snowball out of control. We're going to go for the Arctic Convoy. If we find a Pioneer Company, we can play it immediately. If we don't find the Pioneer Company, we'll be able to Naval Power to stay on 8 cards. We don't find it, so we'll drop the Naval Power. I actually think that was a mistake. I think I should have Naval Powered one of the tokens, because they operate for free, so they're pushing up guaranteed, whereas he might just want to spend 5 credits not operating the Katyusha. If he attacks me in the face, I don't really care about the damage, and this way it opens up spots in his support line. That was actually probably a pretty big mistake. We have at least 1 draw for a supply shortage. We don't find it. This is a little unfortunate. I think we just go for Bryansk Convoy. Hope to find a 1-cost card. There's 3 Naval Powers and Pioneer Company in the deck. And honestly, I could probably afford to eat an overdraw, so I'd probably play a Sickle if I find one. This is very dangerous territory, though, because we don't have the supply shortage. Okay, so we pick up the supply shortage, 1 card too deep. We're at 9 cards. I could drop a Red Dawn to take out a light infantry. Seems like that'll be a pretty good idea, because these are almost certainly getting buffed. I think he's probably greedy now. Or maybe he just has an alliance that's going to be coming out. So I think our next 2 turns are going to be the supply priorities fortification into Monsoon Rot Bryansk Regiment. So I don't want to overdraw, and I want to not have a additional unit in the front line that's going to be attacking me for much more than 3 damage over the course of 2 turns, which is how long it will take to kill it. And there's 3 Red Dawns in the deck, so I don't need... I'm able to drop 1 and still combo him, plus we have the Commonwealth, so I might not even need it. And, like, surely he has a buff, but he attacks twice. Okay, so he has 4 Blitz Light Infantry. Does he not have a buff? This is wild. Do we drop the Crusader? I think probably. I don't think card draw is going to matter as much in this matchup as other matchups, so I think if he kills Crusader with a sickle or a hammer, I'm pretty happy with that, actually, because it's removal that's not going into the Bryansk. And at this point, Commonwealth is looking like the more likely win con. We didn't find a sickle or a naval power. Both of those would have been played immediately on the caddy. So caddy lives for a turn, but again, probably not that big of a deal. If he gets a 50-50, he can kill Crusader with sickle. So he places 3 Blitz Light Infantry, and then top decks the Frontal Assault. I feel really bad for this guy. This guy got quite unlucky. Hits the Bryansk, which actually lets me trade out a Light Infantry. I think that was a big mistake by him. So we're on 9 cards. Bryansk is probably coming out, which means I'm probably doing double fortification Bryansk or single fortification. If I find a naval power, I'm playing naval power and Bryansk and trading. Monsoon or supply shortage is a really good pickup. We have the Monsoon Rot, so I'm not going to play it. I think we're not trading Bryansk this turn. I think we're just dropping another Bryansk. I'm like fairly confident he doesn't have more buffs in hand, and obviously he can top deck buffs to get this out of Bryansk range, or he can top deck a sickle. Arctic Convoy could find motors. Yeah, it does find the motors, so his stuff lives through Bryansk. But if he triple trades, supply shortage just clear on its own, and I have 2 more in deck with now. I'll have 16 cards, and I'm drawing more, so I'm happy to play this supply shortage. Doesn't trade the other one. A bit odd. Maybe I trade in the Crusader. We're going to be drawing cards first, though. So supply shortage is coming out, but how do we not overdraw? Not that overdrawing particularly matters at this point, but it would still be nice to not do it. So I think we're keeping Bryansk alive. So let's start with the sickle. See what we find. Okay, so we just have lethal next hand. Or next turn. We have the full combo in hand. And, you know, we Commonwealth him 2 turns later. But now we trade out the Crusader. So we can play Timely Supplies and not overdraw. Timely Supplies finds Fortification, which we can drop because there's no reason not to. And then 3 credits left on Supply Shortage and the game's over. The funny thing about push OTK is if you're able to keep units off the board, this version of the deck with only the 7 units is very difficult to kill your opponent from hand. It's not as easy to play out units to red dawn yourself. So if you can't Commonwealth, or Commonwealth gets discarded, or your opponent healed and you've already played Commonwealth, something like that, and then your opponent just stops playing units, this deck actually struggles to win. The problem is nobody stops playing units because that's not a something that most people are going to be doing on ladder. Even top tournament players would probably need a extended amount of time to think, to not play units, and that's an extended amount of time that people aren't going to be spending on ladder. So yeah, the good first win. Let's get to some more games. Beat tokens. I had a slightly below average start, I think, but he had a much worse than average start. That was quite unfortunate for him to not find any buffs. So yeah, let's get to the next game. Alright, we have another Soviet player. Very quick mulligan to keep 3 cards. That tells me it's tokens. Control players don't keep that many cards and don't mulligan that fast. So against tokens, honestly, because we have sickle supply shortage, which is like the cards you want against tokens, I'm going to keep Crusader Naval Power. Just because tokens can struggle to directly remove something from hand. A couple of them run Hammer, but few of them. And if I'm able to stick an early Crusader, like do a turn 4 Crusader Naval Power, things can start snowballing pretty hard from there in terms of card draw. So we're just going to keep the entire hand. Maybe the Naval Power wasn't necessary. Like maybe I'm more likely to do a turn 3 Crusader raw. But even Soviet control can sometimes struggle, and that's apparently what it is. I guess it's Soviet control that just hit their early game. That's fine. We're in no rush to kill that. I'd rather not take a ton of damage from it, though. This is kind of annoying. Just gonna play out the fortification. The only reason to not play out fortification is if they're going to be discarding me. To just keep it in hand as fodder, or if I'm going to be using it to draw off of Crusader, but, you know, I have no shortage of British cards to draw off of in this hand. I think I'm going to risk going for the early Crusader. There's not a ton of ways for him to deal with this. He kept 2 other cards in his opening hand, so he probably is going to have at least some removal, but I'm hoping it's Sickle rather than Hammer. That's quite annoying, actually. Okay, we pick up the first push. Supply shortage is absolutely coming out. The question is, do I pin the guy in the support line and trade so that 845th dies, or do I naval power the 845th to keep Crusader off of sickle range? If he had the opportunity to kill Crusader, would he? With the 125th on board? I don't know. My god. I love people like not respecting people thinking. Like, I know it's ladder, but, you know, thinking is still nice. I think we pin the one. Oh, this is a very difficult situation. I think we lean towards keeping Crusader alive. We can kill this pretty quickly. Run 8 cards with, like, a lot of single cards, but I might need to keep the sickles. Oh, California. That is awkward. Okay, that's a great draw. So Pioneer's coming out. What comes out after Pioneer? Because we can't do Enemy Spotted without losing Crusader. But maybe we can do Pioneer, Supply Shortage, trade Enemy Spotted, and we stay on 8 cards. And then California dies. No, California doesn't die, but California goes to 1 and is pinned and then dies on the following turn. The alternative play would be to use sickles to keep it alive. I think we'll do this. I can also sickle the 125th just to kill it. Alright, trade it off, and then get the draw in. So he heals to 23, which already means just red on push is done not enough to kill him anymore. He steals Pioneer Company, which is really annoying. Alright, we have a big hand. Probably that Bryansk is coming out this turn to stay on 8 cards. I think we start with Timely Supplies, though. I'm a little scared of KV. KV is terrifying, but, like, just playing them on Soon Rot this turn's not crazy. Although we're like basically at 8 credits, and we have Monsoon Supply. The issue is this means that I can't do anything else past Bryansk, which is a little slow. And then I'm going to go into the next turn with, like, if I top deck another Convoy after Bryansk, things are going to be getting a little rough. So, I mean, this fits my curve really well. 20 cards in deck. I think we do this, and then just hope it's not KV. Because if it's like more, like, we'll probably find Pin. We have a ton more Pin in deck. I think we have 4 more targeted Pin and another Monsoon Rot. And we're halfway through deck, and this opens us up to be playing the card draw. So yeah, if he does anything other than KV, I don't need to Monsoon immediately, and I can instead just draw a ton of cards. This seems like a pretty easy Honey, Sincerely Yours Bryansk turn. Fits the curve nicely, gets a draw 2 out of hand. And this is what I mean about, like, not wanting another Convoy, is you so many times you're in 9 card hands. Like, you're in situations where you end your turn on 8, you draw to 9, and then your hand is like Convoy, 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 and you can't play a card from your hand without overdrawing. That happens very frequently. So you just double buy the swords, each reduced cost from the Pioneer. We pick up the Commonwealth and heal to 30. So that's good. Board's looking a little annoying. I think we fort Convoy. Fort Arctic Convoy is a guaranteed I can play a Bryansk or a Honey and not overdraw, and it gets 2 units out of the deck. It's difficult to imagine a world where I play Fort Convoy and don't have something I can't play for 3 credits, and even at the worst, I can just supply shortage, I suppose. But I think Fort is coming out 100% of the time. And I mean, I guess I just go for this and play the Bryansk. We're going to play around Suppress over keeping the Honey alive. I don't think keeping the Honey alive is super important. I think HQ total is more important. Because at this point, I think if Commonwealth goes off, I win. Okay, B24J to Suppress. I'm going to hit face for 3. And now I have 2 useless guys on board. So Commonwealth win is getting harder. But again, like, push with a single sickle is lethal. Do I want to do Crusader Supply Shortage or Supply Shortage Convoy? I think Supply Shortage Convoy is much better. And I can trade out the Honey with the Cossacks. So we're back up to 9. Enemy contact. Not bad. And we got the naval power to avoid overdrawing, which is fantastic. Oh, actually, I can't trade out the Cossacks because this has a guard. So instead, we will do this and this. So dies on his turn, so Ishak can't attack. This is pinned. This dies next turn. Not too much of a worry. Red Dawn. We're getting close to guaranteed lethal. Sometimes what you can do with this deck is, since you draw with cards like Sickle, is even if you don't have to push in hand, you're just guaranteed to draw it. That's not a great thing to go for, you know, unless it is completely guaranteed, but it is something to keep in mind. Do I drop the other Monsoon Rot here? If I do Monsoon Rot Convoy, is there a possibility Arctic Convoy's gone, Sincerely Yours is gone, both Monsoon Rots are gone, Commonwealth's in hand. What could I draw off of Convoy that I can't play and also isn't push? I think we just do this. Convoy Fort. Well, that answers that question. Okay, we find the push. That could have been really, really bad. That could have been catastrophic. But, thankfully, you know. We have the push. He hits face, brings me out of Commonwealth range, but then he dies from hand with sickle, red dawn, push, push. And he's Soviet US, so there's no countermeasures that can prevent this. Sickle. Red dawn. Red dawn, and then this is actually exact lethal. Push. And push. We probably still could have just won with Commonwealth, like if by just playing fortification. I think we had a naval power or two left in deck. But yeah, that's the control experience. It was a bit of an odd control deck, but that is how games against control typically goes, is they just struggle to put enough pressure on board where you can't answer it by pinning it multiple turns into a Monsoon Rot when they overcommit. And then it's very difficult to heal out of range of Commonwealth and push. Discarded, it gets a little tricky. But yeah, let's get to the next game. Alrighty, our next game is against Germany, and now I've moved my face cam over to the correct corner. I knew I was going to forget it when I moved it for the decks. And Germany is an interesting one, because the most popular deck on ladder is Germany and Japan, so I'm definitely keeping one sickle. I don't want to keep two sickles, because it could be Germany-US, and Germany-US has the sickle's a lot worse against Germany-US. There's not really one health units. We're going to keep the honey just because sudden strike is sort of vanished from the meta. So just playing a honey on 2 is usually good. And we're going to mulligan the other 2 cards because we're looking for a convoy. Sincerely yours, Arctic Convoy. Something of the like. Nakshub. That's fine. We're gonna play the honey. Like, I could let him sudden strike 35T. But, you know, the sudden strike would probably always have happened. So it is US. We're not taking the front line. That would be crazy. It's a little risky to go for Crusader. I'm trying to think of what world he could kill this in. Like double 35T. Or, you know, 35T through the breach, 35T dive bombing. That'd be pretty bad. Is there any way that's like is there a single card that does this? Like, he could M10 it and suppress the Crusader. The alternative is to pass. I mean, I don't want to enemy contacted a Nakshub. I don't think we want to pass with a hand. I think we need to take some degree of risk. Like, you know, and like if we pass, he pushes like a 5th Rangers. Okay, Tack Strike. Yeah, man, I forgot people have been running Tack Strike now. It's not a common choice. I don't love double sickle. But am I enemy contacting? Like, we need to find the card draw. So getting a card deeper in deck, like just spending the credits on playing card drop is good. Because, you know, if this gets me one card deeper and that one card deeper is convoy, it means I can then convoy with 2 credits left over to play anything off the convoy on the following turn, rather than next turn I enemy contact into convoy. Something like that. So we're just going to Panzer Grenadiers. This is really bad. Okay, Timely Supplies gets this one deeper, and with Honey it heals. I think we trade Honey on our turn to prevent the Nakshub just generating credits. Okay, Arctic Convoy. That's actually a really good pickup. Finds the 2nd Crusader and Bryansk. I could Naval Power it. Naval Power forces him to 35T trade, which forces him down to 3 credits with Nakshub back up to 5, but that means he can't FW. He could 35T on its own without playing the Combined Arms and then FW still. That would be pretty good. However, if I trade, he could just play FW. Right, you could also through the breach. That would be really bad, and then I don't even get the damage on a unit. I think we naval power, because I think next turn's going to be Crusader supply shortage. And again, I don't love using both Crusaders to only draw one. However, next turn I wouldn't be able to do Crusader naval power supply shortage, and I think maybe waiting 2 turns would be a bit too difficult. Okay, that's quite interesting. We just supply shortage trade. We don't even drop we'll sickle this. And we don't even have to drop the Crusader. Second supply shortage pickup's really good. Yeah, I don't really want him to trade out the Bryansk. I can maybe even use the Bryansk with Crusader next turn if I can draw an enemy spotted or timely supplies. I really expected FW. And the combined arms there. Is this just Bryansk fortification? Do we even play the fortification? This might be one of those hands where fortification is worth saving. I mean, we need 9 credits, and that's going to be, what, like 3 additional draws to find a British card that's not fortification, or at least the same as fortification. I could do Crusader supply shortage, and if I find a naval power, we're chilling. I could just do Bryansk pass. I could just pass. I think Bryansk is coming out. I don't like the Crusader supply shortage. And I think the fortification is coming out as well. This is a very difficult deck. Man, I swear, I'm gonna get so many roping reports for playing this deck. But man, this deck is hard to play. Don't at me. If you're one of these people I'm playing against, I'm sorry for spending a long time to think, but the deck is hard. Okay, so again, Pioneer Company actually does let me. Oh, that's nasty. I was literally in the process of saying Pioneer Company lets me play Monsoon Supply Shortage. That is what we call a skill issue, and now I have Crusader in hand. Kind of wish I had the fortification back. I'm not gonna lie, because now I don't actually have any British orders in hand. But we top deck Convoy, and I think we will. Do we Bryansk first? I think actually I'd rather the Crusader die than the Bryansk if he has From the Deep. Hit the Convoy. I think we'll just double Convoy here and drop the Bryansk probably. Honestly, I don't even want to drop the Bryansk. I'll just drop the Fortification. Generally speaking with this deck, if you get a Crusader on the board and you're able to draw with Crusader and not overdraw, you should, versus other plays, assuming it doesn't, lose you the game. Yeah, like the number one rule with this deck is you are trying to draw as much, as quickly as physically possible without overdrawing. Yeah, and then our opponent's just going to surrender because he knows it's essentially impossible for him to bring me below 12 to stop push combo. Again, he could have just only played Comet, not played units, make it impossible for me to push him, but I have 2 units on board. I can push off of just the Pioneer Company, because I can red dawn into the Pioneer Company, then push face. So yeah, he was in an unwinnable situation. A bit of a preemptive surrender, but yeah, the game was over. He was saving himself time. So that is, we're 3 games in. Beat tokens. That was a bit of a rough match. Absolutely destroyed frontline. Absolutely destroyed control. Absolutely destroyed German-US mid-range. This deck is, if you can play the deck very, very well, this deck is an absolute savage right now, I think, in the meta. There's very little that hard beats it. The number of incredible healing ramp decks on ladder have gone down drastically, and even if you queue into those, you can usually beat them. There's almost no discard in the meta, which is really good. this is just one of those decks where it's, if you can when played properly, it is a monster deck. It's just incredibly difficult to play properly, as I'm hoping I am getting across. But yeah, let's get in another game or two, and yeah, try to get a different matchup. Alrighty. So our next game is against Japan. This is presumably Jaggro, keeps 2 cards. There's a decent amount of Japan-Poland going around. It's the deck I played last month, and it was brought to OCC to decent success. And a couple different lists have been shown around. I'm not trying to say that I was the one to popularize it, the current iteration of this current meta. I queued into somebody else who was playing it and it looked fun, and used the stupid deck copying feature, which is still in the game. I can't believe it. But playing against Japan, regardless, we're keeping supply shortage, and probably just going to keep 2 supply shortages and mulligan the other 3 cards. Japan is one of those matchups where if you don't find supply shortage, you will lose the game. And if you find at least 2 supply shortages, you will probably win the game, regardless of the rest of your hand. Like, 2 supply shortages against Jaguar will buy you enough time where it's almost impossible for you to not find the other card draw and stall and heal and whatnot to win the game. Whereas if you have all of the stall and heal in the world, you will still lose if you don't find supply shortage, because Jaguar is just capable of creating such big boards so quickly that it just sort of snowballs out of control. Here's a very interesting question. Did we enemy contact to essentially just heal 2 and draw a card? Like, on curve enemy contact, it baits him into playing more cards. We could Honey, and that leads to a couple different possibilities. He could type 93 and trade Honey, which would be pretty bad. He could Raiding Brigade or Audacity. I think both of those are fine. I don't get any immediate value out of the Honey, and he hits face for 2, but then it lets me play a turn 3 supply shortage, start taking away at the Sendai, kill the type 93, and Raiding Brigade or Audacity. Raiding Brigade means it can't attack because it's in the support line, and it's Audacity. It means it can attack, but it's spending 2 credits on his turn 4, which is really bad for him. So both of those situations are fine, but if it's the type 93, like, trade out the type 94 and then 35T, that's really bad. Timely supplies, there's a high chance that we don't find anything. I think I'm leaning towards the Honey. I would love to get out a Raiding Brigade or a Brion or a Audacity from his hand. Those are both just really annoying cards for him to have in general, and this is a fine situation for him to have it. I'm willing to trade out the potential healing of the Honey now to just get that out of his hand and give him a slow turn. Oh, he has the type 93 35T. That's the one you weren't supposed to. He went face. Okay, he went face. It's fine. That's the other thing I love about Push, is it's so punishing. It's so incredibly punishing. I beat 66 better yesterday playing this deck because of a play he made on turn 1. He made one mistake the entire game, and it was because he played 164th on turn 1 instead of Red Devils, and it literally lost him the game. He would have won if he had played Red Devils. He played 164th. He lost the game because of it. So yeah, this deck is just incredibly punishing even the smallest mistakes. You need to play perfectly on the deck, but you also need to play perfectly against the deck. So that's another sort of reason why it is just an absolute ladder menace. Okay, so he has Recon. I don't really care about that. He has Honey. I don't really care about that either. What's the best way to play on curve? I'm not playing out Crusader to just die. I don't feel threatened enough to Fortification. I would love to get more cards in hand. Like, I would love to be able to pick up a Naval Power in case he drops a Dragon Slayer or a Sheetan. So I don't think I want to go for enemy contact. So the question is, do I Timely Supplies to try to play on curve, or do I Convoy now just because it's a harder card to play in the future? I think I want to just go for the Convoy. We pick up the Naval Power. If it was Sickle, I think I would play Sickle immediately to kill Honey. Naval Power, I'm not dropping the Naval Power to pin Honey. Let's just see what he plays. Because honestly, at this point, his hand size is so small. There's slim possibility he has a card like Take Liberty or Enigma, both of which would be really bad. Take Liberty would be much worse. I'm more fine with him drawing cards than my hand size being reduced. But it's difficult for him to kill me in this position. Like, within, like, 2 turns. It's very difficult for him to set up a 2-turn lethal. And if he plays a bit too slow, I could honestly just straight up play Fortification Pass or something like that. Type 93 is pretty good. I can Supply Shortage, and it clears Sendai. And it clears the Type 93, and it clears Honey, and I take 2 damage. And then it gives him an extra draw on the Recon. So I go to 7. He has a 1-2 Recon in the front line, 6 credits, 4 cards. Not wonderful. Alternatives are a little awkward, and I'm certainly not going to die with this play. I guess I can Timely Supplies first and just see what I find. If I pick up a Sickle, I can drop it on the Sendai and heal 1. Or on the Recon, but that would put me to 5. Bryansk, great pickup. So yeah, we'll just Bryansk. Give him a bit of card draw. Again, Jagro, like, it's difficult to not give Jagro value off of their Recons, but honestly it's fine, because just your deck is so good into the average card from Jagro. Like, you can give them like 6 extra card draw and probably just still outvalue them. It drew him into the Raiding Brigade, which is quite good for him. So Crusader just is... I could probably just double Fortification here and still be in a chill spot. I think Crusader is definitely coming out. The question is, do we Crusader double pin? Because the Recon is dying. Or do we just Crusader Fortification? Fortification puts us to 12. It draws 1 card. I don't think drawing cards is too much of a problem at the moment. However, just getting into deck to try to find the 3rd supply shortage is good. I could also Crusader Naval Power the Raiding Brigade. We go to 8. And if I find a Sickle, I kill Type 94. I go to 7. Again, he's still off being able to kill me. So yeah, I think we go for the Naval Power and then Enemy Contact if we don't find a Sickle. Yeah, there's the Sickle. Bit too late. We pick up a Honey, which means there is... we played an early Honey, so underneath Arctic Convoy, or within Arctic Convoy, there's the 2 Bryansk, 1 Crusader, 1 Pioneer. Yeah, Bombing Raid is fine. Okay, Pioneer. So we're now guaranteed a Bryansk off of Arctic Convoy. What am I doing this turn? Probably getting the Sickle out. So this is 3 credits no matter what. This is 4, and then that lets me... I could actually go for a Convoy. I go to 5. No, actually I stay on 6 because of Honey, and then I heal to 8. He has a Raiding Brigade on board. Alternatively, I could just draw up a Fortification, and I go to 13. And he has a Raiding Brigade on board. Well, we'll start with what we're definitely doing, which is this. Let's see what we draw into. Nothing Fortification. Well, either way, we can actually Timely Supplies in here. So let's Timely Supplies, see what we get. Enemy Contact, do I want to play that? I think I'll play it and then Convoy. Just try to get the most healing out of the Honey possible. Because we do have to win the game eventually. It's sometimes harder said than done. Sendai on the Honey is fine. I actually think maybe the Pioneer was the bigger threat for him there. Could just Crusader, Fortification, Naval Power in the game. Is functionally over. I actually am going to pin the Cavalry for a couple of reasons. One, it's on 1 health, so I would actually rather he trade the higher health unit in. And 2, it has 0 operation cost. I'd rather he spend a credit operating his unit in case he has something like Enigma that could use up a lot of credits. Or like a Panzer Grenadiers would give him another credit to operate. I know normally people just pin the biggest unit when given an opportunity to pin, but that's not necessarily always correct. Alright, so we pick up our first push. I could just Monsoon and kill Shiden. I could even Monsoon and kill Sendai to get back Honey. That would be pretty fun. Because then I can just pin Shiden and it's stuck on 1 health. Honestly, I think that might be what I go for. And then I will Brionsk after that. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9. And we guard the Honey. Gives him an on the ascent, but he's not running. He's not running, he's not Finland, so it's not as big of an issue. Alright. And just like that, oh my goodness, my health is so small. But what, I've gained 31 health this game? And I still have a Fortification and Sincerely Yours in hand. Alright. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, I respect the effort, but if you think I can't deal with your board with a basically infinite hand size, like I have the rest of my deck, access to the rest of my deck functionally, and even then I could pass. Like, my internet could go out and he would still not be able to kill me. Well, assuming I trade 1 unit. Yeah, so that's the matchup against Jagro. That is actually typically how it goes. If you find supply shortage, you win the game, as I said. He had a bit of a rough hand. It seemed like, you know, he didn't find his expansion, but he got off to a good start. But yeah, the one mistake, he left the Honey on board, and oh boy, was he punished for it. And yeah, we cracked into the top 20 already. Winning tie breaks is nice. Let's do one more in this video. So yeah, let's get into the next game. Alrighty, last game of the day. It is Japan. Again, probably Jagro. Not keeping Push, not keeping Red Dawn, keeping Sickle, keeping Honey. And I'll keep it Sincerely Yours. It's a little slow. Like, if I didn't have Honey and Bloody Sickle, like if these were both like Monsoon, not Commonwealth, and I was chucking everything, I probably wouldn't keep Sincerely Yours then, just because it's very important to find a supply shortage, if not a supply shortage, a Sickle. A Sickle can usually mitigate the need for a, like, turn 3, turn 4 supply shortage. Just because you take so much less damage, and because of, like, cards like 35T, it also just slows them down. Having an answer for their early stuff slows down their additional early stuff. Yokosuka. So it could be the Poland deck. It doesn't necessarily need to be Jagro. But the Jagro and the Japan-Poland Legions actually run all of the same 1-drops. Well, I guess they don't run Type 93, but, you know, if he has Type 93, does he play it on an empty board? Probably not. Does he have, if he has 35T, does he play it on an empty board? Probably not. If I play Honey, I think it walks into Audacity, which is a big punish. So I'm going to drop the Brionsk. Like, as much as I would love to play Honey, because, you know, Convoy, if I play Honey and he plays Audacity, we're in a bit of a rough spot. So I'm going to play the Brionsk, because if I play Brionsk and he plays Raiding Brigade, I don't care at all. The Raiding Brigade's in the support line, and the Raiding Brigade was always going to kill the Brionsk. There's not a world where that didn't happen. So yeah, he has the Raiding Brigade, which, again, is a little annoying. The question is, do I go for Honey, or do I go for Sincerely Yours? Or this is not Sincerely Yours. Do I go for Convoy? I think I'd rather play off curve this turn. I'm definitely going to keep the naval power. I do not care about that Raiding Brigade. Yeah, okay, he had the Audacity. He had Audacity and Raiding Brigade going first. Quite good. I could wait a turn on playing the supply shortage. Just drop a Sincerely Yours. Like, I'm feeling good about our hand size. Sincerely Yours could also find a Sickle, which would, like, immediately kill these. The one downside of this is I don't kill them immediately. Like, if I play Supply Shortage, it means on the following turn I could play, like, for example, Honey Convoy, and not have to worry about the Aichi being alive. Whereas the Sincerely Yours now baits him into playing more units onto the board. Like this, we catch a Dragon Slayer in the Supply Shortage, which is quite big. because this is just going to be pinned. We could drop the naval power. If he was going to attack with Aichi, it would heal 6. I think I would rather he spend 2 credits attacking with Aichi here over 2 credits developing the board, because most of his responsive cards are gone. Raiding Brigade is gone, and Audacity is gone. So his ability to respond to a board is not high if he spends 3 credits here attacking face and only 3 credits developing board. Whereas if I pin the Aichi and then he spends like his turn pushing up a Panzer Grenadiers, that's a lot better of a turn for him than if he attacks with Aichi. That is not great. We'll probably have to play the second supply shortage if I don't find a sickle here. Okay, I do find the second supply shortage. And probably just going to drop the honey and the naval power. Like, it's very difficult for him to remove this from hand. We haven't seen an ally nation, but if he plays naval supply run, it's almost certainly just German. So the double supply shortage kills the 2 health guys, and it's going to guarantee kill the Dragon Slayer, because unless he plays second naval supply run on the hope of keeping this alive. And Audacity gone, Rain Brigade gone, it's difficult for him to remove this. Of course, you know, he's... Why not have your 4 best early game one-of cards in your 40 card deck, or 39 card deck? You'd think Signal Regiment, but Signal Regiment doesn't really matter in this matchup at all. But yeah, no. Rain Brigade, Audacity, Bombing Raid, Dragon Slayer are like the 4 cards you want in Jaguar on top of your 1-drops. The only bad thing you can say about this guy's hand is that he missed the turn 2, a play on turn 2. So, enough complaining, because we're still going to win the game, despite all of this complaining. So we're going to be sickling. Oh, do I convoy? Like, do I play around Enigma and take Liberty? Because I could just sickle Fortification, which is an incredibly slow turn. I would much rather draw the cards. If my hand is going to stay the same, and his hand is going to stay the same, I would much rather just play the Convoy. The issue is if I play Convoy and then he plays Take Liberty, I wasted my turn, and now I have 1 less card draw in my deck. I guess we just start with the sickle and see what we draw. Oh, I think we play around it. I'm going to go for the fort. I'm not super happy about this, but his hand size is really small. Like, if he doesn't have a Take Liberty or an Enigma, he's probably going to lose the game anyways. So if he had Take Liberty, he would play it 100% of the time there. And if he had Enigma, he would play it 100% of the time there. I'm not going to go for the second Convoy, because there's a decent chance we brick ourselves and overdraw. Kind of confused what his game plan is. If he just keeps passing, like, he might be passing until Sheeden. I think dropping the Monsoon Rot. The Monsoon Rot is much less valuable than the supply shortage, even if I only had 1 in hand. Okay, Pioneer's a good draw. And we will use the Pioneer to get out the Convoy now. You might be thinking, like, why is it's a little counterproductive to drop the Convoy to go back up to 9 if I just got a draw that puts me to 8. But it gets Convoy out of my hand, which is important, because it then means it's going to be easier to stay off of 9 in future turns. We are just going to be dropping enemy contacts to cycle through my deck, because, again, Red Dawn is lethal. I'm going to play the Bryansk. This gives him a on the ascent. But I don't really care if he takes these 2 cards. Like, what is he going to use these 2 cards for? They're completely useless. Yeah, okay, he plays on the ascent. Again, this guy can only draw elites. It's honestly an issue at this point. He's just gonna pass. What is he doing? Alright, let's cycle some cards. At least 1 card. Oh, do we play this? We have 2... Oh, wait, I thought I had 2 push in hand. I do not have 2 push in hand. Why did I think I had 2 push in hand? This is a very dangerous card to play. We're definitely not tossing out another supply shortage. He could Honorable Death to force overdraw here. I mean, I played Timely Supplies. You could definitely Honorable Death to force overdraw. I could always Red Dawn the Crusader at the end of this. It feels incredibly counterproductive. Like, okay. We're just going to pass. He has to bring me off 30. And he can't bring me off 30 with orders. So he has to play a unit that attacks me in the face this turn. Or he just loses to Commonwealth. That works too. It's a bizarre game. I don't know what that guy was cooking. He had a game plan. I don't understand what it was. But we end the day on rank 16. We climbed like a good 40 or so points. You got it to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you want to check out the deck, link is in the description of the video, or the import code is in the description of the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will be making more of these over the next couple days as I try to hit rank 1 by the end of the month, which it is currently the 26th on the day of recording. So not a lot of days left. We're trying to hit this 3K barrier. I have a lot of ranks to go and a lot of time to go if I keep playing push, because man, does this game take a while when you're playing push and thinking to the rope on several turns a game every game. But it's a fun deck. I'm enjoying the game right now. I'm very much enjoying playing this deck, and I hope you're enjoying watching me. So with that, I will stop rambling. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.